Welcome to the Tournament Center here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch in Atlanta. I'm Brian David Marshall, and I am joined by JiachenTao of Seattle. JC, you are undefeated in Modern with this deck through 6 rounds of play. What made you decide to bring Blue-Red Eldrazi to play at the Pro Tour?
To be honest, he just kept winning our test games. We threw every single deck against it, and no deck was ever felt unfavorable just because of the aggressive nature of our deck. And we weren't sure how well it would actually perform, but we were pretty confident that it's a real deck.
And then at the end of day 1, you had 4 players on the deck. That means 20 matches of Modern. Mm-hmm. How many of those 20 matches did your team lose in Modern yesterday?
Oh man, we dropped 1 match. 1
match. That's a 95% win rate for this deck on day 1 of the Pro Tour. Let's take a look at some of the cards in the deck. Let's see what makes it work. Let's take a look at some of the new creatures that were added into the format in Oath of the Gatewatch. Talk to me first about Eldrazi Mimic, JC.
This is one of the best early plays you can make. It looks unassuming, but it has the potential to hit for 4, 5 as early as turn 2 or 3, given the right draws.
And if you're making Scion tokens, those Scion tokens can become the size of Thought-Knot Seers, right?
The Scions don't copy, but those guys will.
Right.
Yeah. And we also have Ruination Guide in the deck, which also pumps this. He's just a very solid foundation of the deck.
Okay. Eldrazi Obligator?
The Obligator also hits for really hard for very cheaply. And in the long protracted games, you have the chance to steal their biggest guy and possibly even steal 2 guys in the same turn if you've been holding them up. It just makes blocking very tough for your opponent.
And you were telling me you even like this guy against decks that don't have the opportunity for you to pay the extra cost. You just like it against the creatureless decks because it comes in.
Creatureless decks, it just hits them really hard. It's a lightning bolt on legs.
Speaking of hitting really hard, Reality hit a lot of people in the face yesterday in the Swiss rounds of Modern. Talk to me about Reality Smasher. This card is the real deal.
Yep. We can cast this early as turn 3 with the right hand. And the only removal in this format that deals with it cleanly is Path. It's not even that cleanly because they have to discard a card. And we get to put a land into play, which is great for our deck. We just want to spit out all our cards and put them on the table. So this card is both a threat, and even if they can't deal with it, we still end up coming out ahead.
Path to Exile almost becomes like Ancestral Recall for you. They discard a card, you draw, you get a land.
Yes.
So, and then so if you made an Eldrazi Mimic, you play Reality Smasher, suddenly you're crashing into 10.
Yep.
Okay, and then this is the card that everyone's been talking about all weekend, Thought-Knot Seer.
Yes. This card is great in the matchups where you suspect that they're holding removal spells, or if they are somewhat of a fragile combo deck. Against Scapeshift, you take out their Scapeshift, all of a sudden they just can't win anymore. Or against decks that have Supreme Verdict or Wrath of God, is also very good in those cases.
This card's had enough of impact. I saw JC get Vendilion clicked this last round and lose a Thought-Knot Seer, and as much as I'm rooting for you, I was like, good for him. Magic justice.
It is, yeah. It is an upgrade to the Vendilion click, that's for sure.
Let's take a look at some of the older Eldrazi cards that are in here. And again, while some of the previous cards may have been obvious, you came to some non-obvious conclusions in your Battle for Zendikar choices that came into Modern. Drowner of Hope and Eldrazi Sky Spawner maybe being 2 of the cards that not everyone was expecting.
Well, the Sky Spawner, I'll start with that one because it's a cheap one. It both helps with an aggressive start, protects your board position, it blocks a lot of flyers in the format, and the extra Scion that it makes can help you ramp into your bigger threats. Sometimes they have a Blood Moon out, and the only way you can cast a Smasher or Thought-Knot Seer is to sacrifice a Scion. The Sky Spawner will also allow you to have a turn 3 Drowner of Hope.
Oh, and what?
Drowner of Hope.
On what turn?
Turn 3.
That seems absurd.
Yes. The Drowner of Hope, we started testing with 2 copies in our deck, quickly realized how good this card is in any sort of creature matchup, and started jamming 4 cards. Very quickly.
Okay, Endless One, just very flexible card that's good at any turn you're casting in the game.
Good early, good late.
Ruination Guide, okay, I can see it. But I have to admit here, I was not predicting Vile Aggregate as a Modern card. You compared it to a staple of the modern format when we talked earlier today. Tell me what you compared this card to.
It is a bigger Tarmogoyf in our deck. It also tramples. It also ingests, which doesn't do a whole lot except it puts our opponents on tilt.
Okay, so you get the psychological edge from this card. That's pretty exciting. Okay, let's take a look at how you pull this all together. Well, you have one spell.
We have one spell in our deck. We initially had Lightning Bolt because that seems the obvious strategy. You know, you're playing red, you're playing aggressive, you're playing Lightning Bolt. Quickly realized that 3 damage for one card, we can do better than 3 damage for one card. And this card is great at removing blockers. You can safely tap out for a Drowner of Hope or Sky Spawner and still be able to cast this. And we went 3. I think that's a good number.
Right, and you can sacrifice the Scion to sort of camouflage that you can cast anything that turn.
Right.
All right, let's take a look at how this comes together. Mana-wise, here we see Cavern of Souls, 3 copies. This is, I guess, a nod to the control matchups?
This is just a good land to have. This is an untapped, true tricolor land that doesn't hurt you. The fact that it can randomly destroy blue decks trying to counter your spells is just a bonus.
What do you name? Yeah, I know what you name. Eldrazi Temple.
Those are the mana acceleration lands.
And Eye of Ugin. Both of these just let you do ridiculous things. So you can play this on turn 1 and just play an Eldrazi
Borderline
Mimic?
unfair things.
Borderline unfair?
Borderline. I don't think it's totally unfair.
I don't want to see what your unfair deck looks like. And then finally, 1 Gemstone Caverns. Talk to me about the 1 Gemstone Caverns.
So this deck has no 1-drops and a ton of 2-drops. We really want to, if we're on the draw, we really want to get back to the advantage. And this card does that, serves that purpose. We had a lot of flex land slots in our final testing days, and I decided to only have room for 1, and that one's the best one.
Okay, let's take a look at the rest of the lands here, because you do have a couple basic lands, 2 islands, 4 Scalding Tarns, 4 Shivan Reef, and 2 Steam Vents.
The fetch lands and the steam vents are pretty self-explanatory. We want to be able to cast our color spells post-board. Even though our main deck does not have any color spells, we do have a few in the sideboard. The islands are not to Path to Exile, basically.
Sure.
We expect our creatures to die often, and we want to take advantage of that.
You want to get 3-for-1s when they Path to Exile you.
Exactly, and it's also great under Blood Moon. Since we have no mountains because Blood Moon does not hurt us as much. And then the Shivan Reefs are our second set of tri-lands. They come into play on tap. They tap for any of our colors at a very minimal cost.
All right, JC, this deck will be, you'll be able to find this on. I very much expect that this deck will be in the Modern Pro Tour Gauntlet on Magic Online on Wednesday. You'll be able to play this deck for yourself. For JC Tao, this is Brian David Marshall from the Tournament Center.